Who is going to win the Calder Trophy this year in the NHL? Ivan Demidov of the Montreal Canadiens or Matthew Schaefer of the New York Islanders? I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the most anticipated topics that I feel we can dive into today, and it's one that I think I have personal experience with. We'll get into all that and more right after we look at some of the numbers that these guys have put up. And, yeah, I'm not going to address it. Y'all can figure it out in the comments section below. Ivan Demidov this season has been on a tear. 36 points in 42 games played, on pace for a 71-point campaign. And he's been really turning it on lately, with multi-point games back-to-back-to-back, and a recent Rookie of the Month nod for the month of December by the NHL. Now, in contrast, you have yourselves Matthew Schaefer, who has gone out there and taken over the New York Islanders blue line in a way that I don't think anybody really expected him to do this early. Like, the way he has transitioned as an NHL defenseman from a very limited OHL sample last year into being a legitimate number one D-man option for the Isles. This is something that we expected to see out of him later on in his NHL career, not year one. Matthew Schaefer this season, 18 years old, 6'2", 185. He has scored himself 28 points in 42 games and is on pace for 54 points and 23 goals. He currently has 12 goals in 42 games played. Are you telling me this guy is going to be a consistent 20, 25, maybe even a 30 goal scorer in the National Hockey League from his first year playing? And he's going to continue growing and developing and getting better? This guy is already playing 25, 26, 27 minutes a night for the New York Islanders. He is absolutely a number one defenseman, and that hurts Ivan Demidov's chances at winning the Calder. In fact, I would even go out there and say that the race is a lot tighter than we think. Now, I said that I have experience in talking about this particular kind of topic, and I will stand by that. And the reason for it is because Ivan Demidov plays for the Canadiens. They're one of my favorite teams. They're my second favorite. This is not the first time a rookie on one of my favorite teams is going head-to-head with the New York Islanders rookie for the Calder. Let's take a blast of the past over here and check out what we were doing on YouTube back in 2018. It was Brock Boeser for Calder, Brock Boeser slump, Barzal winning the Calder. Can Brock Boeser get 50 goals next year? Rookie Boeser is like Austin Matthews and Patrick Laine. Boeser. Okay, we're going to ignore Brendan Leipsic and Jake Virtanen talk, but essentially, Brock Boeser is the big standout to me when it comes to keeping track of the Calder race and the rookie race and getting excited for the future. But we are replicating that exact situation here. Okay, it's not exactly the same. But what I wanted to do was essentially get a little thought process going for the Calder Trophy and who really does have the best chance of winning at the moment. To help us out, let's go over onto the NHL's board and statistics page to look at the points and just dive into who it is more likely to walk away with the award. Right now, Ivan Demidov leads all rookies in points with 36 in 42 games. Matthew Schaefer has 8 points behind him, with 28 points in 42. Now, in most years, the Calder Trophy usually just goes to the guy that gets the most points. And that has been true for a good chunk of the years in the past, let's say, decade and a bit. However, things get a little bit different when defensemen get involved. And I wanted to dive into some of the recent winners to show you why. So let's talk about last year's Calder race. Lane Hutson ended up winning, and he also ended up scoring the most points out of the entire rookie class. You can say that other guys like Macklin Celebrini, who had 63 points in 70 games, might have had a better points per game number than Hutson, but at that point, when they're so close, you give the edge to the D-man who was going out there and playing 22 minutes a night on Montreal. Right? That makes sense. Also, the way the Calder Trophy is awarded and voted for, it's very particular. They're not necessarily voting for the best player who happens to be a rookie. They're voting for the rookie who had the best season. It is not a long-term thing. Just because a guy has 50 points in 3 games doesn't make him more valuable than a guy who had 60 points in 50 games. Because the guy who had all the games played technically had a better season because he was utilized more and he was available. They judge the quality of the season itself rather than the long-term projectability of the player, and sometimes longevity plays a part in that. This is why, when we take a look at the conversation of the 2015-16 Calder race, for example, Connor McDavid was over a point-per-game player, with 48 points in 45 games. Artemi Panarin, though, won the darn thing with 77 points in 80 games. Yes, it's true McDavid had a lower point-per-game number, but Panarin played the whole year, and in the eyes of NHL voters, that is worthy of saying he had a better season. There also were conversations of, McDavid was 18 and Panarin was 24, so why are you comparing these guys in a similar light? You shouldn't be saying they're in the same playing field. Which is fair, but it doesn't discredit the idea that Panarin's season was just better than Connor McDavid's. And might I remind you, the other runner-up that wasn't McDavid that year was Shane Gostisbehere, who was 5th in overall points with 46 in 64 games. So again, the point-per-game number matters, and Shane Gostisbehere also happened to be a D-man. Sometimes defensemen that are just straight-up number 1 D-men also win too. Back in 2022, Mo Seider won the Calder after having scored 13 fewer points than the actual rookie point-scoring leader in Michael Bunting. Bunting had 63 points in 79 games, Moritz Seider had 50 points in 82 games. But the caveat was Mo Seider was playing 23 minutes a night. He was a number 1 D-man on Detroit. He was a number 1 power play quarterback. He did everything that the Red Wings needed him to do as a rookie, and that was good enough to let him run away with the award. Plus, I think the fact that Michael Bunting played with Austin Matthews was a factor that had a lot of fans and media kind of salty. I mean, you can say the exact same thing about Panarin back when he was going up against McDavid because Panarin was playing with Patrick Kane, but I think Mo Seider had a better case to winning the Calder in 2022 than McDavid did, especially when you consider the fact that McDavid only played half the year 10 years ago. Now, what also is interesting to me is how some of these numbers stack up when you compare them with other D-men that just straight up had higher draft status. Let's go back over to 2014-15. You take a look at the point-scoring race of this list over here. Mark Stone and Johnny Gaudreau were tied for first in points with 64. Philip Forsberg had 63. Then you had Mike Hoffman, Kevin Hayes, and Anders Lee scoring points and rounding out the top 6. You know who won the Calder that year? It was Aaron Ekblad, who had 39 points in 81 games as a right-handed defenseman, 8th overall in overall rookie points, and Ekblad was going out there and playing 21 minutes a night. The same time on ice as John Klingberg had with the Dallas Stars. Not to mention the fact that Klingberg had more points in much fewer games than Ekblad. All's this to say is that first overall status can really carry you to being a Calder nominee and inevitable winner. And that's not to insinuate that Aaron Ekblad was unworthy. He was so good in his first NHL season. The points didn't reflect that. The time on ice didn't reflect that. It was reflected in the way he just dominated all around, and that's why he ended up winning the trophy. But if Matthew Schaefer can do similar things as Aaron Ekblad did, impact-wise, they're not the same kind of defenseman, but impact-wise, it's not going to matter how many points Ivan Demidov scores. As long as Matthew Schaefer stays within a relative range of still being a top point producer in NHL rookie points, like he is right now, as long as he continues being that top guy, I think he's got a better shot at winning it over Demidov. And that pains my heart because I want to see Montreal get 2 Calder winners in a row. But Schaefer, with the 2 goals against Toronto, with the dominance we have seen, this guy is just it. He is just the total package, and I really am jealous of the Islanders. Also, yeah, I noticed I had the same jacket as the guy right after I saw the picture, which is why I had to do the getup and everything. Like, it's the exact same. So, with that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Ivan Demidov and Matthew Schaefer? Who's going to win the Calder? If you had to place a bet right now, who do you take? Comment section is your floor. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.